Hi friends, hope you are doing well. My name is Dr. Varun Deshmukh, and in this video we are going to discuss about the basics of mechanical ventilation. This is the second video in the series of videos about basics of mechanical ventilation. In this video we are going to discuss about the ventilator itself, and I will introduce you to the ventilatory waveforms. So as you all know, in positive pressure ventilation, a positive pressure gradient is created between ventilator and patient, and the breath is delivered. Since the lung is expanded and there is an elastic recoil, the expiration process is passive process. Each ventilator, the modern day ventilator that we use, comprises of four components: power, controls, monitor, and safety. So power is a self-explanatory. Electrical power is necessary for running a ventilator. If AC or DC power is not there, sometimes the ventilator can run on internal battery also. So power is explanatory. Regarding the controls, there are various controls starting from the central supply till the expiration. So the first control is gas blender. So whatever FiO2 you select, the ventilator will blend that oxygen and air in such a way that the set FiO2 mixture of air and oxygen is created. So for example, if you select 100% FiO2, the ventilator will not mix any air, and if you select 40% FiO2, the ventilator will keep oxygen in such a way that the concentration will be 40%, rest will be air from the surrounding atmosphere from the same room. So gas blender is the first control. Gas reservoir is another control. Generally it is used in the anesthesia ventilators when the gas flows are very less. Generally the preset FiO2 and gas mixture is filled in a reservoir which looks like an accordion. It is called bellows, and that mixture is delivered in the subsequent breaths. So that is gas accumulator. Then inspiratory flow regulator, that is a solenoid valve, and whatever high pressure oxygen is coming through the central supply or cylinder, this valve regulates the pressure and prevents the patient from excessive pressure from the central supply or ventilator. So this is a regulatory inspiratory valve. Then comes the humidifier. So it can be active humidifier, which is part of some of the ventilators, or in some ventilators we can attach humidifier separately, and there is also passive humidifier, which is a heat and moisture exchange filter or HME filter. So that takes care of humidification of the dry gases which are delivered to the patient. After humidification comes the circuit, and through the circuit the air and oxygen is delivered to the patient. When it comes back, another valve comes into the way, that is called expiratory regulatory valve or PEEP valve. So this valve also regulates the flow, and it makes sure that at the end of inspiration also certain level of pressure is maintained according to your set parameter, and which is actually your PEEP. So that is the expiratory regulatory valve. Now coming to the monitor part. So in the monitor, you can monitor the details about oxygen concentration, about the flow, volume, and pressure. So these four are the main components of the monitor. Ventilator also has a computer, and it calculates different variables and different values and derives numbers for you, so that additional data can also be seen on the monitor. The fourth and most important component is the safety component. So the safety component is actually used for the safety of patient as well as the other operators who are using this ventilator. So safety components are mainly three. One is inspiratory filter. So whatever air is coming into the ventilator, this filter will filter out the bacteria and other particles from entering into the ventilator and eventually going to the patient. So it is essential. The second one is expiratory filter. So whatever exhaled air is exhaled out of the ventilator, this filter is at that level, at the outlet level, and it protects the other the healthcare staff who is serving the patient from any bacteria or foul smell or other chemicals. This filter also protects the ventilator from the heat and moisture which comes out from the patient's breath. So that is also essential. And third safety feature is the presence of alarms. So there are various alarms which are meant to protect the patient in case any parameters go beyond the set limit. The alarm will flash, and in case there is a catastrophic accident. At that point also the alarm will make sure that the patient is not damaged as much as possible. In case there is a power failure, the internal battery will kick in and the alarm will tell the nurse or the attendant that there is a certain problem. So these are the four components of any ventilator. Now we will discuss what are the variables of the ventilator. So there are two variables. One set is called control variables. The other variables are called phase variables. Control variable means the variables which will determine the control of the ventilator. So these can be pressure control or volume control in traditional setting. So in pressure control, you will control the pressure. In volume control, you will be able to control the volume. Now in modern ventilator there are dual control. So you can have pressure and volume control both, or pressure regulated volume control, or auto flow. So these things are advanced things. And in phase variables there are three variables: trigger, limit and cycle. So to understand more about the phase variables, we have to first discuss the ventilatory waveforms. So as you know, the monitor will display you the waveforms. There are two type of waveforms, scalars and loops. We will discuss scalars here because loops are not commonly used, and I don't want to confuse you with extra data. So at this point in this video we are discussing scalars. Scalar means one variable is shown against time. So on the y axis there is a variable, and on the x axis there is time. So there are three scalars which you can see on your ventilator whenever you see the screen. One is pressure, second is flow, and third is volume. If you read the scalars carefully, it is already mentioned over there that whether this is a pressure, flow or volume waveform. Also the scale is mentioned. So what is the scale of so based on the scale you can see whether the size of the waveform is bigger or smaller. And most of the ventilator have automatic detection of the value, and based on that the scale is also automatically set. Other important thing is the color of the waveform. So it may be dark, it may be bright, it may be of a different color. The shape is very important. The size and color of the waveform are not important. So look at the shape, look at the structure of the waveform and try to memorize it, because if it becomes different, it may indicate some abnormality and some problem in your patient. Change in the color or change in the size, bigger or smaller waveform, or sometimes somebody would come and change the sequence of the waveform. So instead of pressure, flow and volume, the sequence might be different, but that all does not make any difference to your interpretation. So be comfortable with the waveforms. Just have a look, don't be afraid. Read the waveform, see what it is showing, see the values, the numbers, see what alarms are flashing, and as soon as you see it more often and you simultaneously prepare and read, you will become more confident in handling the monitor. So we will discuss furthermore. So now we will discuss one breath. We will discuss for volume control as well as pressure control. So now you can see the waveform, one breath waveform on your screen. One breath is it consists of inspiratory phase and expiratory phase. In volume control, a predetermined volume is delivered to the patient. The pressure is not in your control. So to deliver a predetermined volume, there is a fixed flow. So in this waveform you can see that the flow, inspiratory part of the flow is a flat line. So it indicates that the flow is fixed. Now if the flow is fixed and lung is a closed cavity, as the flow goes on, the pressure will gradually increase. So you can see that in the photo that the pressure is gradually increasing. As soon as the flow stops, the pressure will also stop increasing. So the maximum that the pressure reaches is called peak airway pressure or P peak. So in volume control you can see the waveform, flow is flat and pressure is rising, and there is a peak airway pressure. Now this peak airway pressure consists of two components. One component is the resistive component, the other is the elastic components. Resistive components is used to take care of the resistance while air is flowing through the airways, and the elastic component is component which is used to distend the alveoli, or so that tells you about the elasticity of the alveoli. To eliminate the resistive component, it is possible to eliminate when the inspiration is maximum and lung is maximally inflated. The ventilator will show you the peak airway pressure. At this point, if you give a pause to inspiration, there is a separate button on the ventilator which reads inspiratory pause or inspiratory hold. So if you press this button at the end of inspiration, the ventilator will pause, and you have to make sure that the patient is paralyzed while doing this maneuver. Otherwise patient will try to cough or will become uncomfortable. So when you give an inspiratory pause for generally for 1 or 1.5 seconds, the peak pressure will suddenly come down to a level and it will steady at that level. This pressure is called plateau pressure or alveolar pressure. This pressure actually tells you about the elastic component of the pressure. So the resistive components, which is airway resistance, which is determined when the air is flowing, that has been eliminated by giving inspiratory pause. When you give pause, air is not flowing in either direction, and whatever the distended alveoli, whatever pressure they are having is actually displayed on the monitor. So that is, the peak pressure can be different for different patients, and it can vary in the same patient also depending on various factors like bronchospasm or obstruction in the airway because of mucus plug or secretions or blood clot or patient biting the tube or kink in the circuit. The peak pressure may also increase if there is a chest wall abnormality or deformity or severe obesity. So every time when the peak pressure is elevated does not mean that the lungs are stiff and plateau pressure is also elevated. So to know that, you have to apply an inspiratory pause and see if the plateau pressure is also elevated along with the peak pressure. If the plateau pressure is also elevated, and so that will tell you that there is some problem with the lung itself, and the lung compliance is actually poor and lung is stiff. So your goal for safe plateau pressure when we ventilate ARDS patients, our goal is to keep plateau pressure less than 30. And now with more data coming in, we have moved from plateau pressure to driving pressure, and as I told you, driving pressure is the difference between plateau pressure and PEEP. Okay, so now the next component is mean airway pressure. Mean airway pressure is just the average of the total pressure during one single breath. So that encompasses the peak pressure, the PEEP that is applied, the shape of the waveform of the ventilation, and the patient's respiratory rate. So mean pressure does not really tell you much, it is just an average. So we don't use it in our day-to-day interpretation, but it is also shown on the model. Another thing you can see in the photo is inspiratory pause. Generally we don't apply inspiratory pause, but for the sake of explaining you, I have kept it, because in all the books and literature that you read, you will see this type of waveform. So inspiratory pause is sometimes given to increase the duration of inspiration, and once the lungs are maximally inflated, if you give a small pause, the oxygenation may get better. That is the idea. But this inspiratory pause, the time is calculated in the inspiration, and it may affect your inspiration to expiration ratio. Okay, so now so this is about the volume control breath. Now for the pressure control breath, as the name itself tells you, pressure control breath, you set a pressure and that pressure remains fixed throughout the inspiration. So if you see the waveform here, the pressure is fixed, and that's why the pressure waveform is flat during the inspiratory time, and flow waveform is variable. So when the pressure remains fixed, and if you give a flow, obviously as the more and more flow goes into the lungs, the pressure would rise. So to prevent that rise in the pressure, the flow has to reduce. So that's why the flow waveform goes down like this, and that indicates that the pressure is stable and flow is reducing. So it is a decelerating sort of a pattern of flow. Now since there is flat pressure, the peak pressure and plateau pressure become same in this condition, and the driving pressure would be plateau or peak pressure in this case minus PEEP. So pressure control mode, you have control over pressure. So if you think about that, in a way it is a good mode, that your pressure is not going beyond a certain limit. So many people like pressure control mode. It is used more often in the pediatric group of population. The problem with pressure control is the tidal volume is not fixed, and based on the patient's effort and patient's conditions, the tidal volume can vary breath to breath, and you may have to actually keep a close watch on the patient to make sure that patient is not getting hypoventilated or hyperventilated on pressure control. So that's about pressure control. Now we will dissect the one single breath into parts, and we will learn about the phase variable. So now if you see the inspiratory part and expiratory part, both are separate. How the inspiration start, so that is determined by trigger. So there are 4 phase variables: trigger, limit, cycle, and PEEP. So we will start with trigger. Trigger means a variable which will determine when the inspiration will start, in simple language. So the trigger can be time triggered in all the control modes. It can be patient trigger when patient makes an effort, and that patient trigger can be in the form of flow or pressure. So triggers are of 3 types: time trigger, flow, or pressure trigger. Now, if you can see in the graph, in the photo, the trigger is the point I have mentioned it where it starts, and trigger is the point where breath starts. Now the breath will continue till it changes into expiration. So that the point or the variable which will determine when inspiration ends and expiration starts, that is called cycle. So now you can see in the figure where is the cycle. So that's cycle is a variable which will change inspiration into expiration. Cycle can be time cycle, it can be flow cycle, or it can be volume cycle. We will discuss examples in further videos of what in different modes, what are the triggers and cycles. Now coming to limit. So limit is a variable which will limit a certain parameter going on during inspiratory phase. So limit means, now for example, for volume control, since you have to deliver a fixed volume, flow is fixed. So volume control mode, limit will be flow. So flow will not go beyond a certain limit. It will remain fixed during the inspiratory phase. And in pressure control, pressure is the limit. So pressure will remain fixed throughout the inspiratory phase in pressure control ventilation. So that's about the limit. The important thing that differentiate limit from alarm is both work in a similar way. Alarms are generally the values are higher than limit, and alarm reaching the alarm value ends up in termination of the inspiration, while reaching limit does not end up in termination of the ventilation. The inspiration continues and it reaches till the cycle point and then cycles into expiration. So in alarm, the inspiration is terminated when the alarm limit is reached. In limit, the inspiration continues till the cycling variable is achieved. So that's the difference. And the fourth variable is PEEP. We have already discussed about PEEP in this video itself, so you know about that. So I hope you have become more comfortable about the basic waveform and about the volume and pressure control variables. Now you can tell me what will be the trigger, limit and cycle for volume control and pressure control. So if we discuss on the same line that we discussed, trigger for volume control, since there is a control in the name of this mode, you can set a rate, and if you can set a rate, that means at fixed intervals breaths have to be delivered. So it is a time triggered mode. Pressure control is also a time triggered mode, since there is control in its name as well. Now limit. So in volume control, as we discussed, the volume is fixed, and to deliver fixed volume, fixed flow is delivered throughout the inspiration. So it is a flow limited mode. Pressure control, the pressure is fixed, so it is a pressure limited mode. And regarding cycling, in volume control, you can say it is time cycle mode or volume cycle mode. As soon as certain amount of volume is delivered, the breath is cycled, inspiration is cycled into expiration. And in pressure control, it is a time cycle mode, because there is no target of flow or volume to reach. So it is a time cycle mode. So now to summarize, volume control is a time triggered, flow limited and volume cycle mode. Pressure trigger is time triggered, pressure limited and time cycle mode. I hope it is clear to you. Another thing is the expiratory part. So we have not so far discussed the expiratory part. So if you see the figure again, expiratory part, the pressure comes down immediately and then it remains at the level of peak. So the pressure waveform, there is nothing to see in the expiratory part. In flow waveform, if you see, it is like since the flow is in the reverse direction, the expiration waveform of the flow is also in the reverse direction. So inspiration flow waveform is upwards and expiration flow waveform is downwards. And it both, once they finish, they reach as soon as the flow stops, both the waveforms reach at the baseline. So in expiration, you can see the flow pattern in pressure and volume control. And since expiration is passive, expiration flow waveform will remain the same for both volume controlled and pressure controlled ventilation. So we can get some information from expiratory waveform, which we will discuss in our subsequent videos. So kindly stay tuned for that. The third waveform is your volume waveform. So if you can see it, a volume waveform will remain same for pressure or volume control ventilation, because what happens is simply at the beginning of the breath, the volume starts up building, it reaches maximum level, and when it cycles, it again comes down. If you have given a pause, then it may plateau at the top, but the waveform will remain same in both the modes. And based on the volume waveform, you cannot say whether it is a pressure control or volume control ventilation. So now, after discussing all this and learning all this, I hope that you you can see the waveform and tell me which type of mode it is, at least whether it is a pressure limited mode or whether it is a volume limited mode. So just by looking at the waveform, the pressure and flow waveform, you should be able to tell us whether it is a volume or pressure limited waveform. That's the whole idea of discussing all this. Now in the last part of this video, I would like to discuss about the ventilator induced lung injury. So ventilator can cause 4 types of lung injuries. One is barotrauma, when we give excessive pressures. Initially when the ventilation was started, 10 to 15 ml of tidal volume per kg used to be given, and that would lead to excessive pressures inside the lung, and it would lead to pneumothorax or pneumomediastinum, and that was described as barotrauma. As they got more and more evidence and more clarity on the physiology, it was learned that actually barotrauma is less important. It is the volume that determines the amount of trauma, and that term is now coined as volutrauma. So volutrauma is more important than barotrauma, and it is the volume which is more deleterious. So nowadays we give 6 to 8 ml of tidal volume per kg of body weight, and in ARDS we give even less tidal volume to avoid volutrauma. The third trauma is atelectotrauma. So when the alveoli at the end of expiration, some of the alveoli collapse completely. That leads to repeated opening and closing of the alveoli, especially when the lung has a stiff, it is a stiff lung, or it is an ARDS lung. That lung has a tendency to, the alveoli have a tendency to collapse more rapidly. So the repeated opening and closing of the alveoli lead to shear stress on the walls of alveoli, and that leads to a trauma which is called atelectotrauma. To prevent atelectotrauma, we apply PEEP. So PEEP works as a stent, and even during the expiration, certain level of pressure is already applied, and it continues like that throughout the expiration. It helps the those alveoli which would have collapsed to prevent from collapsing. So PEEP can be used to avoid your atelectotrauma. And the fourth trauma is biotrauma. Biotrauma is actually the release of inflammatory mediators because of opening and closing of the alveoli and the shear stress in the wall of the alveoli, which will stimulate certain inflammatory mediators, and they will have systemic manifestations also. So that's why it is called biotrauma. All these 4 trauma are part of the injury that is caused by ventilator, and that's why they are called ventilator induced lung injury. So I hope you are clear about that also. So that's all about today's topic, and in the next video we are going to discuss about the ventilator graphics and troubleshooting. So I hope you like this video. Please share with your friends if you find this video interesting. For more quality content in the intensive care medicine field, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you soon. Till then, goodbye.